guys, welcome to another ride in the Strugglebus where every wheel is an empty triangle. Today is our first game of our new bus ride series, and today we are playing against a 9K on OGS. And the intent of this is that we're going to be playing a game following the Strugglebus basic rules and explaining them as we go along. And one of the main goals here is not just me playing better and more efficient moves than my opponents. But if we follow the rules, that's typically what's going to end up happening. But it's going to take a little bit for me to figure out the best way to do that. And you'll see that in this game, where I'm just kind of going through and just playing the moves that make sense, and they don't necessarily follow the basic rules. But sometimes our opponents force us to do things, and we just have to respond to them. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this first video, and there will be more to come. Anyway, enjoy the game. Okay, so we've got our first one, and we are white this game. So we'll be following our basics. It's worth pointing out that for Fuseki, my main stance recently has been as long as you don't blunder the opening, the choices we make don't matter too much. But for this video, I'm going to keep things basic. So instead of attaching, I'm just going to slide in because I want to keep this nice and simple. Keep it, similar to games that you'll be seeing. And if we get into big, complicated variations, then this isn't going to be too helpful for you. But we are going to be following the basic rules. And for the most part, I'm going to be responding to his moves at the beginning anyway. So here, we're just going to choose to kick. And then he should extend. We'll just jump. And then he will jump out. And we've got some third line stones and third line stones over here. So if we do extend, it should probably be fourth line. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to go approach this stone. Typically when we approach fourth line stones, we want to do it from the third line with a knight's move. If we approach on the fourth line, it's less painful for them if they avoid it, or if they tanuki from here. And so this has better follow-ups. And so that's why we'll typically approach a fourth line stone from the third line. So he attached, we're just going to extend. Whenever they attach to a stone, it's typically good to respond. And we're typically going to be doing either an extension or a hane. In this case, we couldn't hane, so we extended. And here we've got two choices. We can extend on this side or extend on this side. And we'll keep things simple. We'll go here, we'll build off these two stones, and we're going to do the hane variation. So he'll end up getting sente out of this, but this is a variation that you are more likely to see in your games. This is a little early to be doing this. Typically we'd push one more time. I don't think it's going to matter too much. We are just going to cover this. And then we are going to cover this cut. It's important that we protect our cuts, and this is the shape that we do that with in this variation. He should extend. If he doesn't, we are going to immediately turn to force him to play another move to live in here. So he did extend, so we are going to take this to force him to play another move in here. This gets us our strength, and now he's got this double wing formation. And there are a bunch of things that we could do to reduce this. A typical move is here, and I kind of want to play it to show you guys, because this is an extension that you do see a lot in your games. Unfortunately, the variations here are a little tricky, but let's just attach and see how this goes. Typically, we're just doing this to either get into the corner or take the outside. We're fine with pretty much whatever this turns into. He's going to have control over what direction we get pushed. So with the hane under, we typically play the hane on the outside. He should connect. Or he can take the Atari, that is also fine. We are going to connect here. We're just going to shoulder hit this stone. So we just wanted to reduce a little bit, get some strength, and we'll now lean on this stone. This is kind of a weak stone, and we've got a rule that says we don't want to attach to it, but that is fine. We can treat this like an attachment though, because he ignored it, so we will extend. And we will push one more time. And we're just building strength here, right? We want to make sure that our groups are nice and strong. And now that we've got these 3 stones, we can do this nice little knight's move. And he can't cut this because it'll turn into a net if he tries. And so we're building up some good strength towards the center. This stone builds off this territory a little bit. And then we've got this corner and here. So this is a pretty even game so far. He's looking to cut our stones here, and we're just going to keep it simple and play here, just to stay connected. And we can connect directly, but I'm going to choose to do the bamboo joint. It's a better shape. It does give us an empty triangle, but we're going to have an empty triangle no matter what. So we'll play here. This will give us some more follow-ups over here, while also still keeps us connected. Whenever you need to connect groups, you still want to make sure that you're doing it efficiently. And so in this case, I think I'm considering playing here to separate him, because then he will have to follow up to live over here. But we're in no rush. He's not going to play over here. So let's play another larger move. So this left side looks pretty open. So let's just play a move here. This is a little too close to a strong group, so I'm just going to play one further back. And I kind of lied. I said I should have played a 4th line stone because we want to keep our balance between 3rd and 4th line stones. But the stones on the edge of your base, typically you want them to be 3rd line stones. So here he's just playing in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play here to separate this stone from his group up here. And I'm just going to attach to this. And if he hanes, I'm going to push down. And he pushed, I am going to push again. If he hanes, I'm going to hane, but he did not. So now we can push one more time, and I think I'm going to. And I suspect he will hane now. If he does, we can consider taking the cut, but I'm probably just going to hane ourselves. So he did not answer this, so we are going to take the hane at the head of 3, which he should have taken. So now these three stones are pretty cramped. And if he answers here, we can take the double hane. And the reason we can take the double hane is we've got an Atari here, and then the Atari here to get these 3 stones. So he can't do anything too tricky over here. Because if he does, we get to Atari this stone. And then if he saves this, these 3 stones will be captured. So that's why the hane at the head of 3 really is strong, is that it allows you to take this double hane. And so of course we're going to capture here. And unfortunately things are kind of falling apart a little bit, and that's unfortunately to be expected. And so in this situation he's just linking back up, and I'm just going to keep him split. So now he's got 2 stones that he's going to have to worry about. It's probably not worth saving either of them at this point in time, but let's see what he does. Okay, so he plays a shoulder hit on our stone here, and we typically are going to respond to this. This is a move that demands a response, and so we can look at standing up, or we can look at just extending. In this case, this is where all his potential is, and we really don't have too much up here, so I'm actually going to just extend. And this keeps us flat, which is what the shoulder hit aims to do, but typically it's meant to reduce your group while building up outer influence. But right now the influence doesn't really go anywhere, so I will continue pushing as long as he lets me, and if he hanes, I'll hane as well. And he's even going to give us sensei now. So honestly, we're kind of already in endgame. We can look at just playing moves like C2 and D18 and L18. And then we can also look at trying to get something in the center. In this case, though, I'm just going to go for large endgame moves. I'm unsure about what this center can actually turn into, and this corner wasn't particularly strong, especially with D15 still available. We'd probably have to end up giving up E14 if we didn't play this because of some OGs with cuts. And so he did respond to this. So we're now going to play c2, which is still kind of an endgame move, and it's a little early for endgame, but this group isn't terribly strong with this wall here, and so we're going to remind him of that by playing this move. And then we will play this. And at this point, we can look at sealing this up, or maybe peeping here and trying to build. Let's take this peep and see if we can get something going on in the center here. Ooh. He's got to be careful because we also have this cut here. So when we do something like this, it turns on this cut. And so what we're actually going to do is just play this diagonal, because he has this cut to worry about, and he does still have this peep that he has not protected yet. Though there may be enough room in here for him to be okay, it'll still give us a weakness to go after and get some profit while we do so. Okay, so I am more than willing to give this stone up, and so what we're going to do is we're just going to extend here. And if he hanes, then the question becomes, do we just want to push and cut, or do we want to Atari? And if we Atari, it'll come in Sente, because, well, the capture will come in Sente because we'll still have this cut. As where this, yeah, let's just take the Atari, because if he does play here, again, our capture will be in Sente, so that is good enough. And so we will just cut off these two stones. And so we are building something up in the center. Again, there really wasn't, it's tough to get anything going in the center, especially when he has stones that go that way, which is why I was taking the larger corner moves. So we'll just play here and see if we can turn this into something. I assume he's going to save the stone. He does not save that stone. That is interesting. Not too concerned with that move. Let's go. Do we just want to play this? Yeah, we'll play this. I want to ladder this stone, but I also don't want to give him a free move over here, so I might just play the knight's move off of this. And so that's what I'm going to do to try to just surround this territory. And at this point, the game is pretty much over. Black has some points in here. He's got a small corner, and then he's got this corner. But we have this entire center, this corner, and then this area as well. I'll say a very well played game by our 9K friend here. These games are certainly not easy for our opponents. So he kept this much closer than I would have expected. So he definitely played well. Okay, I will connect here as my last move, and then I will pass next turn. And he passed, and we passed. And we are up by 46.5 points, which is a big win, but again, our opponent played well. So let's do a quick review to show some of the larger moments in the game. So everything started normal enough. We were doing our typical Fuseki stuff, nothing too crazy. Here again, we could have chosen to do this and just gone for influence. That would have turned out fine, but I thought it made sense to build off of this stone. And so we went this way, which worked out fine. Again, he turned a little early. With that said, I'm not sure of the punishment for this, or even if there is a punishment for this, but typically we would expect this here. And we also haven't seen this hane too frequently anymore. When I first learned, we didn't think that 3/3s were a strong move because this was the variation we were used to. Again, we were used to seeing this variation, and this was considered too good for white because it gave white too much influence for what black's getting in the corner because of this exchange, right? It fixes all of white's weaknesses. In this case, we're a little over-concentrated, so it's probably fine for black. But we now know better. We now know that it's better to push one more time here and then to Tanuki. And so typically if we're playing this way as black, I would expect a Tanuki here, you know, whether it be M3 or something over here. Either way, this just gives white a little more strength than he wants. This is a fine move, and then we took this just to reduce that. And then things get a little hairy here. For basic series, I don't want to be playing moves like this because it's going to complicate things. Luckily, our opponent chose to keep things simple, and I'm thankful for that. And this is just us getting strength. And here, I think this was a big miss. And this might be the downside of doing a series like this and letting my opponent know that, you know, what this is before going in. It's very possible that he wanted to play this move, but thought that maybe he would be getting in trouble if he got into a fight against me. As black, this is what I'm going to play here. I want to attack this group that's already leaning against a strong group here. And so if we can get a strong group on this side, then we're going to be able to get some good profit off of that. This is just a little too passive. This is a protection move, and it lets white get way too much. So this was probably the big turning point in the game, honestly. And everything up to here I think was fine, but this decision for black to kind of run away a little bit gives white a little too much here. And so we got too much strength, and you saw how much this ended up hurting this group and what ended up happening in the center because of it. So we stay connected here, we do the bamboo joint, and so this is something we also have to be mindful of, are these peeps. In this case, black is getting something good out of it, but be careful with your peeps because you have to look at what your opponent is getting. Here we're going to do the bamboo joint because, again, you want to make sure that you stay connected, but let's do so efficiently. And this obviously threatens to take S8. So in this case, we got to connect in sente, which I'm sure was not the intent of his move here. And so that was another miss, letting us get sente. And so now white's starting to take over this game, right? We've got some good strength here. We've got, you know, a solid base here, a corner here, some good potential here, and black doesn't have too many points on this board. This can still be reduced. This can still be reduced, and so I do like this attempt at getting something right to try to get some more control over the center. Either way, we do this, and this is our fateful mistake here, is this hane at the head of 3, our connection here, and then not understanding what this double hane does. And again, just wanted to go over this because this is one of the strengths of the hane at the head of 3, is that you get to do a double hane. And in this situation, typically black needs to extend because otherwise he's going to lose one of his stones. And unfortunately, that's what happened in the game. This is okay. This is an okay exchange if he wants to make it. But again, he still needs to stand up here. And now white can consider standing up as well or pushing to the right. There are a number of options. But unfortunately, he took this Atari, which let us take this Atari. And again, if he had connected here, then he loses these 3 stones. So instead, he gave this up. And from here on out, it was pretty much just settling the game. This game is most assuredly over at this point in time, especially letting white get this. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and there will be plenty more where this came from. So until next time, thank you for taking another ride in the struggle bus where every wheel is an empty triangle. Have a good one, guys. To end this video, I would like to thank and show appreciations to every single one of my Patreon subscribers. I greatly appreciate it. Anyway, if you enjoy what you see and want to potentially give back to the channel while also getting some rewards, go check out the Patreon linked below. I've set the rewards to be pretty cheap, so hopefully they are affordable to people. And if not, watching the videos is enough for me. Anyway, have a good one, guys.